There's a quiet corner in your home that most people never think about. A place where you wash your hands, brush your teeth, maybe take a quick shower before rushing into the day. But behind that harmless routine, something else might be happening. Every time you step into your bathroom, you could be unknowingly setting in motion a slow leak of your good fortune. Not through your bank account, but through the way energy moves in your space. And here's the unsettling truth. Most people make the same mistake without realizing it, and it's costing them more than they know. You see, a bathroom isn't just a functional space. In the flow of your home, it's one of the most sensitive gateways for the energy that fuels your health, your mood, and yes, your finances. When something is off in this room, it doesn't just stay there. It spreads quietly into the rest of your home, like a subtle draft you can't quite find but always feel. Maybe it's a door that's always left open, a small leak you've been meaning to fix, or the way the room sits right in the heart of your home. On the surface, they seem like small details, hardly worth your attention. But over time, these small details create an invisible pull, draining positivity, making the air feel heavier, and leaving you wondering why life feels a little stuck, why opportunities seem to slip through your fingers. In the next few minutes, we're going to uncover the most common bathroom layout and habit mistakes that quietly sabotage the energy of your home. You'll see how these everyday oversights can ripple into your finances, relationships, and overall peace of mind. And most importantly, how to turn this so-called drain into one of the most protective, uplifting spaces in your entire house. Because once you stop the silent leaks, you'll feel the shift not just in the room, but in the way your whole home holds and protects the life you're building. Number 1. Bathroom in the center of the home. Most people never stop to think about the way their home is shaped beyond how it looks or how comfortable it feels in day-to-day living. But there is one location choice that, while it might seem harmless or even convenient, can quietly affect the entire atmosphere of your house, placing the bathroom in the exact center of the home. Think about what the center of your home really represents. It's not just another wall or floor. It's the meeting point of everything. Every bit of energy, warmth, and life your home holds flows through that central space before it moves to the rooms where you sleep, cook, work, and gather. In a way, it's the home's heartbeat. Now imagine putting a drain right at the heart of that system. In practical terms, that's what a centrally located bathroom can be. A bathroom is a space of water and removal. It's where things are flushed away, where moisture and humidity naturally build. These are normal functions, but in the middle of your home, they can create an energy imbalance that slowly seeps into every other room. It's not something you can see on the surface. Your furniture will look the same, the walls will still be standing, but you may begin to notice a heaviness you can't explain. Mornings might feel a little harder to start. You may find yourself avoiding certain areas without knowing why. You could even feel that projects stall more often, or that your home just doesn't feel as alive as it used to. In subtle ways, the constant presence of a bathroom in the center pulls focus away from circulation and towards drainage. It's like if your own heart were surrounded by dampness. Eventually, the rhythm of the whole body would change. And that shift can translate into your daily life. Lowered motivation, more frequent illnesses, strained relationships, or a recurring sense that no matter how much effort you put in, results slip away before you can hold on to them. One reason the center is so important is because it connects to every other part of the home. Energy doesn't move in a straight line. It circulates like air in a well-ventilated space. When the center is stable, dry, and balanced, everything benefits. But when that center is dominated by water, humidity, and constant movement toward disposal, the balance tilts. It's not just water, as in a pleasant fountain or a calming view. It's water that takes away, that removes, that drains. In the rhythm of your home, this can become a constant undercurrent of loss. You might not notice it right away because the signs are subtle. A creeping, musty smell that never fully goes away, floors that always feel just a little damp, a lack of natural light that keeps the space dim even in the middle of the day. Over time, this can influence your mood more than you realize. We've all experienced how certain rooms make us feel lighter, more focused, or more relaxed, while others seem to make us tired for no reason. A centrally located bathroom often belongs to the second category. So what can you do if your home already has a bathroom in the center? The first step is to acknowledge the space as more than a functional necessity. Treat it like you would any area you want to feel welcoming and life-giving. Start by making it as bright as possible. Natural light if you can, but warm. Full-spectrum artificial light if windows aren't an option. Light shifts the feeling of a space faster than almost anything else, and in this case, it can help counteract the heavy, damp qualities of the bathroom's function. Next, bring in living elements that thrive in humidity, like certain houseplants. Plants do more than add a splash of green. They actively absorb excess moisture from the air and give back freshness. Choose varieties that feel uplifting to you. Their presence will subtly change how you and others feel when you pass through or near the space. Another small but powerful adjustment is to use scent deliberately. A light, clean fragrance, citrus, eucalyptus, or mint, can transform how a bathroom in the center of the home feels. Scents travel. The freshness you create here can ripple outward, improving the energy in adjoining spaces. And while it might sound like a small thing, keeping the bathroom spotless is non-negotiable. Because it touches every part of your home energetically, any mess or neglect here has a bigger impact than in a tucked-away corner. Daily tidying, wiping down surfaces, clearing clutter, ensuring the air stays fresh, prevents the stagnant, heavy feeling that central bathrooms are prone to. Some homeowners also choose to place a mirror on the outside of the bathroom door, not as decoration, but as a way to symbolically push back and redirect energy. In a more practical sense, you could also consider a subtle partition, screen, or piece of furniture outside the door to prevent the bathroom from being the first thing you see or feel when you walk through key parts of the house. The goal is to visually and emotionally contain the space so it doesn't dominate the center. When you make these adjustments, you're not changing the fact that the bathroom is in the center, but you are changing its influence. Instead of acting like a drain on the heart of your home, it can become a well-maintained, balanced feature that quietly supports the rest of the house. And that matters because your home is more than walls and floors. It's the stage for your life. The way its spaces feel will influence how you start your mornings, how you end your evenings, and how you navigate the moments in between. A central bathroom doesn't have to be a negative, but left unchecked, it often is. By noticing it, caring for it, and intentionally shifting its atmosphere, you reclaim the center for what it should be. A strong, steady heartbeat that sends vitality into every corner of your home. Number 2, lack of light and ventilation. Step into a bathroom that's dim and stuffy, and you feel it instantly, even before you notice the details. The air feels heavy, almost like it's pressing down on you. The smell isn't necessarily bad, but it's not fresh either. Your shoulders tighten without you thinking about it. There's a reason for that. Spaces without enough light or air don't just look uninviting. They affect how your body responds to being there. And when that space is your bathroom, the effect ripples out into your whole home. Bathrooms naturally carry more moisture than any other room. Showers, baths, even the smallest trickle from a faucet add humidity to the air. If that humidity has nowhere to go, it clings. It settles into walls, ceilings, floors, and everything stored inside. Over time, it changes the way the room feels. The surfaces might stay damp for hours. A thin, invisible layer of moisture can coat mirrors and windows. Towels take longer to dry. That constant dampness can feed mold growth, even in hidden places, and create a low-level musty odor that no amount of air freshener really fixes. This isn't just about cleanliness. It's about how an unventilated, dimly lit bathroom shifts the energy of your living space. Light is more than what lets you see. In a home, light sets the tone for how you experience a room. A bright, warm light can make even a small bathroom feel fresh and open. A lack of light does the opposite. It makes the space feel closed in, smaller than it is, and in the context of the home's overall flow, it can act like a blockage. It's not just an aesthetic problem, it's a signal to your mind and body that this space is stagnant. And stagnant spaces tend to drain rather than support. When your bathroom feels like that, you may find yourself rushing through your time there without even realizing it. You might avoid looking closely in the mirror because the dim light makes you feel more tired, or you might keep the door shut to hide the space from guests. But every time you walk by or step inside, even for a moment, the heaviness leaves its mark. Ventilation is just as crucial. Air that can't move becomes stale. In a bathroom, that staleness mixes with humidity and whatever products you store there. Lotions, cleaning agents, hairsprays, creating a cocktail of particles that lingers. Without proper airflow, these particles don't disperse. They sit in the air you breathe. Over time, this can subtly affect how energized or sluggish you feel. In homes where bathrooms lack ventilation, people often report feeling more tired or foggy, especially after spending time in the space. That's because poor airflow doesn't just trap humidity. It traps the emotional and sensory weight of the room, and you carry that out with you. In terms of your home's overall balance, a bathroom without light or air becomes a pocket of energy that's stuck. Energy, whether you think of it in practical terms like airflow or in more subtle ways, needs to move. When it can't, it stagnates, and that stagnation can bleed into the rest of your living space. The result? A home that feels a little heavier, a little more cluttered, even if everything else is in perfect order. And because the bathroom is a space you use multiple times a day, the impact adds up quickly. The good news is that you can shift this dynamic, even if you can't change where your bathroom is or how it's built. Start with light. If you have a window, use it. Keep blinds or curtains light and airy so natural light can fill the space during the day. If privacy is a concern, frosted glass or window films can protect it without blocking the sun. For bathrooms without windows, choose artificial lighting that mimics daylight. Bulbs labeled as full spectrum or natural daylight can transform the feel of a room instantly. Aim for a warm, inviting tone rather than a harsh white glare. The goal is to make the space feel alive and open, not clinical. Next, tackle ventilation. If your bathroom has an exhaust fan, use it consistently, not just during showers, but for at least 15-20 minutes afterward to let the air fully refresh. If there's no fan, consider having one installed. It's a small investment with a big return. In older homes or in spaces where installing a fan isn't possible, open the door for a period after use to let the air circulate into the rest of the home. If you can, open a nearby window in an adjoining room to create cross-ventilation. Small touches can enhance both light and air at once. A strategically placed mirror can bounce light deeper into the space, making it feel larger and brighter. Plants that thrive in humidity, like ferns or peace lilies, not only add color but also help clean the air. Even the choice of wall color matters. Light, warm tones reflect more light and create an open feeling, while darker shades absorb it and can make a windowless room feel more closed in. The emotional effect of these changes is often immediate. A bathroom that once felt like a place to hurry through can become a small sanctuary, a space where you feel lighter, calmer, and more refreshed after using it. And because you enter and leave the bathroom multiple times a day, that refreshed feeling follows you into the rest of your home. Some homeowners underestimate how deeply this matters because they think of bathrooms purely as functional. But the truth is, no room in your home is just functional. Every space you occupy shapes your mood, your energy, and even your willingness to take on the day's challenges. A dark, stuffy bathroom can quietly erode your motivation, while a bright, airy one can lift you without you needing to think about it. It's the difference between stepping out of a space feeling heavy versus feeling ready. In a larger sense, Light and air are the lifeblood of a healthy home. They are the two elements that transform a space from merely usable into genuinely nourishing. Without them, even the most beautifully decorated room can feel lifeless. With them, even the simplest bathroom can become a source of vitality. So if your bathroom currently lacks these essentials, see it not as a flaw you have to live with, but as an opportunity to create a shift. The changes might be as simple as swapping a bulb, placing a mirror, or keeping the door open for 10 extra minutes. But in the flow of your home, and in the flow of your life, those simple steps can mean the difference between a space that drains you and one that quietly, consistently gives back. Number 3. Clutter and expired items. Open your bathroom door and take a slow look around. Do you see half-empty shampoo bottles lined along the tub, makeup you haven't used in months, expired medicine still sitting in the cabinet, or a few stray hairs clinging to the sink? None of these things seem dangerous. They're small, harmless part of everyday life, but together they quietly change how your bathroom feels and in turn how you feel when you walk in. A bathroom is one of the most used rooms in any home, and because it's so personal, it's easy for clutter to build up without us noticing. We tell ourselves we'll toss that old lotion later, that we'll deal with the messy drawer when we have time. But days turn into weeks, and that quiet mess becomes part of the landscape. The problem is, your mind still notices. Even if you've stopped seeing it consciously, your brain registers every extra bottle, every stray item. And every time you step into that space, your body reacts, just a little by tensing, by feeling a touch less at ease. Clutter is more than just stuff out of place. It's a collection of things that no longer serve you. In a bathroom, these objects often represent what's past. The products you didn't like, the routines you stopped using, the remnants of seasons gone by. They hold no life, but they take up space, blocking the possibility of something new. It's like rocks in a stream. The water still moves, but slower, with less freshness. And in your daily life, that slower flow can translate into a heavier mood, more stress, and a nagging feeling of being behind before the day even starts. Bathrooms filled with clutter and expired items don't invite you to feel refreshed. They remind you of what you haven't done yet. That quiet weight follows you out the door and into the rest of your home. The impact isn't just emotional, it's practical. Expired skincare or makeup can irritate your skin. Old medicine can be ineffective or even unsafe. Forgotten hair tools or cleaning supplies can collect dust and bacteria. Every neglected corner can slowly turn into a small hygiene risk. And the truth is, when a space feels messy, you're less likely to keep it clean. It's a cycle. Clutter discourages care, and a lack of care creates more clutter. Breaking that cycle starts with a shift in how you see the space. Your bathroom is not just a functional room. It's a place where you start and end your day. It sets the tone for your mornings and helps you unwind at night. Treat it like the personal retreat it could be. Begin with the obvious. Go through each shelf, drawer, and cabinet and remove anything that's expired, unused, or you simply don't like. Be ruthless. If you haven't touched it in months, there's a reason. If you feel guilty about throwing something away because it was expensive, remember that keeping it doesn't make it more valuable. It just keeps you stuck with a constant reminder of wasted money. Letting go frees up not just physical space, but mental space too. Once the excess is gone, give everything else a clear, intentional place. Group similar items together, skincare in one spot, hair care in another, cleaning supplies separate from personal products. Use storage bins or baskets to keep small things from scattering. This isn't about creating a showroom-perfect bathroom. It's about making the space easy to use and easy to maintain. When you can reach for what you need without moving 5 other things out of the way, your mornings feel calmer, your evenings feel smoother. Pay attention to surfaces. Clear counters invite a sense of openness, while crowded counters make even a large bathroom feel cramped. Keep only what you use daily out in the open. Store the rest. This one habit instantly changes the energy of the room. And while you're at it, get in the habit of small daily resets. Wipe down the sink after you brush your teeth. Put items back in their place as soon as you're done. Toss empty bottles right away instead of setting them aside. These micro actions take seconds, but they keep the space in a constant state of readiness. The change you'll feel isn't just about neatness. A clutter-free bathroom has a different atmosphere. It's lighter, fresher, and more welcoming. You might notice you breathe more easily in the space. You might find yourself lingering for a moment instead of hurrying out. And here's the deeper truth. The way your bathroom feels has a way of reflecting how you care for yourself. A clean, organized space supports a clear, focused mind. It tells you, every time you walk in, that you deserve a space that works for you, not against you. Some people think they're just not organized or that clutter is inevitable. But the truth is, clutter isn't a personality trait, it's a pattern. And patterns can change. All it takes is a decision to see your bathroom as part of the bigger picture of your home and your life. When you keep that space clear and current, no expired products, no dusty tools, no mystery bottles, you create a small but powerful place of renewal. Every visit becomes a reset instead of a reminder of what's undone. And the effect doesn't stop at the bathroom door. Order and freshness in one room spill over into how you feel in the rest of your home. You might find yourself keeping the kitchen counters clearer, folding laundry sooner, or simply feeling less weighed down in your own space. Because the bathroom is such an intimate part of your daily routine, any shift there has an outsized impact on your overall energy. Clearing it of clutter and expired items isn't just a cleaning task. It's an investment in the quality of your everyday life. Number 4, toilet lid and door left open. Picture your home as a living body. The front door is the mouth, taking in everything that nourishes you: light, fresh air, the feeling of coming back to a safe place. The kitchen is the stomach, transforming that nourishment into something sustaining. And the bathroom, it's the exit route, the release point for what you no longer need. Now imagine leaving that exit wide open all the time. That's exactly what happens when the toilet lid stays up and the bathroom door is left ajar. It may seem trivial, but in the flow of a home, this is one of the most direct ways energy, comfort, and even a sense of financial security can quietly slip away. When you flush with the lid open, microscopic droplets, filled with bacteria and moisture, can travel several feet, landing on towels, toothbrushes, and surfaces you touch every day. It's not just unpleasant to think about. Over time, it can impact the hygiene of your entire bathroom. For an older adult trying to maintain health and avoid unnecessary illness, this risk alone should be reason enough to change the habit. But there's a second, less obvious consequence. An open toilet and open bathroom door create an unbroken path for the home's positive energy to flow straight toward the drain. Energy in a home, much like air, seeks the path of least resistance. Leave a clear exit and what you want to keep. Whether you think of it as good mood, restful sleep, or steady finances, finds its way out faster than you'd like. In practical terms, it's the same feeling as working hard to build something, only to watch the results slip away. You may not connect that subtle loss of stability to the bathroom door being open, but your body notices. You might feel more drained without knowing why. You might sense a lack of freshness in the air, or find the bathroom never feels truly clean no matter how often you scrub. Closing the lid and the door interrupts that constant outflow. It's like sealing a small leak in a boat. You immediately notice that the ride feels steadier. The fix is simple, but the impact is greater than you'd expect. Make it a habit to close the toilet lid before every flush and keep the bathroom door shut when the space isn't in use. This one small act contains the bathroom's purpose: removal, so it doesn't spill into the rest of your home. Combine this with proper cleaning and occasional airing out, and you'll turn the bathroom from a point of loss into a contained, well-kept space. Over weeks, you may feel the air in the rest of the home shift, lighter, calmer, more settled. You may even find that sense of things slipping away beginning to fade. Because here's the truth: A home doesn't lose its balance in one big event. It's the small, unnoticed habits that erode it over time. Leaving the toilet lid and bathroom door open might seem harmless, but it's one of those quiet leaks. And just like sealing any leak once it's closed, the space you've worked so hard to create will finally start holding onto what matters. Number 5. Toilet facing the main entrance. Imagine opening your front door, the threshold where every good thing first steps into your home. Fresh air, light, the sense of welcome you've built into this space. Now imagine that the very first thing in its line of sight is the bathroom, with the toilet sitting directly across from the entrance. It's like inviting someone in and pointing them straight to the exit. Energy, opportunity, and the comfort of your home are no different. They follow the path you lay out for them. When the toilet faces the main entrance, you've unintentionally created a straight shot from arrival to removal. And that can subtly but consistently affect how your home feels and how life seems to flow through it. Most people don't think about this in terms of cause and effect. They might notice that money comes in but never seems to stay, or that plans start with excitement but fizzle out quickly. They might feel an underlying restlessness at home, an inability to fully relax, without realizing that the setup of their space is part of the problem. A toilet directly aligned with the front door is like a visual and energetic invitation for things to leave before they have a chance to settle. You're creating an unbroken current that moves straight from the entryway, where fresh potential arrives, into the part of the house designed to flush things away. It's not just about energy flow. From a psychological standpoint, first impressions matter. What you see when you enter a home shapes how you feel about being there. If the first sight is a toilet, the subconscious message is one of exposure, lack of privacy, and an emphasis on disposal rather than welcome. For guests, it can feel awkward. For you, it can become an unnoticed stressor you live with every day. Fortunately, there are ways to soften or redirect this flow without major renovations. The simplest fix is to create a visual barrier between the front door and the bathroom. This could be a folding screen, a tall plant, or a narrow console table with decor that draws the eye elsewhere. The idea is to break the direct line of sight so the front door no longer points to the toilet. If space allows, you might reposition furniture in the entryway to guide movement toward living areas instead of toward the bathroom. Mirrors can also be used carefully. Placed outside the bathroom door, they can help bounce light and attention away from the direct path. Closing the bathroom door consistently is another small but powerful habit. It signals that the space is private, contained, and separate from the welcoming heart of your home. This isn't about hiding the bathroom out of shame. It's about preserving the entryway as a place where energy, both literal and emotional, is greeted and invited to stay. The difference these adjustments make can be surprisingly noticeable. Over time, you might feel a stronger sense of stability in your home. You might notice fewer starts without finishes in your daily life. Even guests may comment that your space feels more inviting without knowing exactly why. The entryway will begin to act as it should, a place of arrival, pause, and integration, rather than a thoroughfare to an exit point. Your home is a container for the life you're building. Every choice you make about its layout influences how well it holds onto the things you value. Aligning the toilet with the front door creates a silent current pulling those things away. Redirect that current, and you give opportunities, comfort, and prosperity a reason to linger. It's a small shift with an outsized return, because when the first steps into your home lead toward warmth and welcome instead of loss, everything that enters is more likely to stay. Number 6. Imbalance of elements in the bathroom. Step into a bathroom and you'll notice it right away even if you can't put it into words. Some bathrooms feel alive, warm light, a hint of greenery, a balanced sense of space. Others feel cold, heavy, almost lifeless, no matter how clean they are. One of the biggest reasons for that difference is an imbalance of elements. In most bathrooms, water dominates everything. It's in the fixtures, the surfaces, the colors, and of course in the very function of the room. Water is essential. It cleanses, refreshes, and carries away what we no longer need. But when it becomes the overwhelming presence without being balanced by other elements, it can tip the entire atmosphere toward coldness and instability. In a balanced home, different elements, think of them as natural forces, work together to create harmony. You might not consciously track them, but you feel their effects. Wood brings growth and life. Fire offers warmth and vitality. Earth grounds and stabilizes. Metal adds clarity and focus. Water provides flow and adaptability. In a bathroom, the constant presence of water without enough counterbalance from the others can make the space feel damp in spirit as well as in air. The energy feels stuck, emotions feel heavier, and there's a subtle sense that things in life aren't settling or flowing in the right way. In everyday life, that imbalance can show up in small but telling ways. You might feel more sluggish in the mornings when getting ready. You might avoid spending time in the space beyond what's necessary. You could even notice that your mood dips slightly after using the bathroom, though you might not connect it to the environment itself. Over time, this atmosphere can influence the rest of the home. Energy from an imbalanced space tends to spill outward, especially if the bathroom is used often. The good news is, this is one of the easiest problems to correct without major changes. The key is to deliberately introduce the missing elements in ways that feel natural and pleasing to you. Wood can be brought in through humidity-loving plants. Ferns, orchids, or bamboo thrive here. They don't just add visual life, they literally breathe fresh air into the space and absorb excess moisture. Fire, which is often absent from bathrooms, can come through warm lighting, a candle you light during baths, or small accents in warm colors like deep orange or soft coral. Earth can be represented with natural stone accessories, ceramic jars, or even a plush bath mat in earthy tones. These bring a sense of grounding and stability. Metal shows up in polished fixtures, a stainless steel shelf, or a framed mirror. Its reflective surfaces add clarity and brightness. When you add these elements intentionally, you change not only how the bathroom looks but how it feels. Suddenly, the space has layers. It's no longer a one-note environment dominated by cold surfaces and running water. Instead, it becomes a balanced mix of textures, temperatures, and tones. You might find yourself feeling calmer while getting ready in the morning, more relaxed during your evening routine, or simply more inclined to keep the space tidy because it's pleasant to be in. One thing to watch out for is adding more of the same element that's already dominant. If your bathroom is already heavy in water influence, blue or gray tiles, chrome finishes, glass, and constant moisture, avoid adding more cool tones or water-themed decor. It's like pouring water into an already full glass. It only spills over. The goal is balance, not excess. For many people, making these changes sparks a shift in how they relate to their home. They start to see the bathroom not just as a necessary, purely functional room, but as part of the home's emotional and energetic heartbeat. And once you've experienced a bathroom that feels balanced and alive, it's hard to go back. That shift in atmosphere can subtly influence how you feel when you step into other parts of the house. Lighter, steadier, and more grounded. Your home works best when every room supports the life you want to live. A bathroom that's out of balance with the rest of the house doesn't just affect the minutes you spend there. It touches every hour afterward. By bringing the missing elements into play, you restore harmony to the space and, in turn, strengthen the stability and vitality of your entire home. Balance isn't just a design goal. It's a living experience you can feel every single day. Number 7. Leaks and dripping water. You know that sound. A slow, steady drip from a faucet, the faint trickle inside a toilet tank that never quite refills, the soft patter from a shower head that won't seal completely. At first, you tune it out. It's just background noise, you tell yourself. But over days and weeks, that sound starts to get under your skin. Even when you're in another room, there's a part of you that knows it's still happening. That's because a leak isn't just a plumbing issue. It's a constant signal of loss. Every drop is something you've paid for, something you could have used, slipping away without purpose. And the longer it goes on, the more it shapes the atmosphere of your home in ways you may not realize. Leaks and drips do two things at once. They waste resources and they create a feeling of depletion. From a practical standpoint, the waste is measurable. Higher water bills, the risk of damage to fixtures or floors, even the possibility of mold growth in hidden corners. But the psychological effect is just as real. A dripping faucet is like a metronome for frustration, keeping time with the thought that something in your home is being neglected. It's a small, constant reminder that the space isn't fully cared for, that energy, both literal and emotional, is being lost. In the rhythm of a home, stillness matters. Quiet bathrooms feel calm, contained, restorative, but a leak disrupts that stillness, creating a subtle tension. You may find yourself avoiding the room without knowing why or feeling less relaxed when you're in it. Over time, that quiet stress can spill into other parts of your life, much the way a small stone in your shoe can distract you all day. The fix for leaks and drips is simple in theory. Repair them as soon as you notice them. Yet many people put it off, telling themselves it's not urgent because it's just a few drops. The truth is, by the time you hear the drip, the cost, financial and atmospheric, is already adding up. A plumber can often resolve the issue in minutes, whether it's replacing a washer, reseating a valve, or tightening a connection. In some cases, you can fix it yourself with basic tools and a quick guide. The important thing is to break the habit of ignoring it. Once the leak is gone, the change in the room is instant. The absence of that sound creates a surprising sense of relief, even if you didn't think it bothered you. The air feels calmer. The space feels more in control, and there's a subtle but powerful shift in how you feel about the home overall. It goes from something that's slipping away to something that's holding steady. If you want to go further, think about prevention as well as repair. Check faucets, shower heads, and toilet tanks regularly. Look for signs of moisture where it shouldn't be, under sinks, around baseboards, along the edges of tubs and showers. Install high-quality fixtures that are less prone to wear. And if you live in an area with hard water, consider using a water softener to reduce mineral buildup that can damage seals and valves over time. The point isn't just to save water, though that's important. It's to protect the sense of security that comes from knowing your home is intact, that nothing essential is quietly slipping away. In that way, fixing leaks is less about plumbing than about peace of mind. Your bathroom should be a place that restores you, not one that whispers, drop by drop, about what you're losing. Addressing leaks quickly sends a message, not just to anyone who visits, but to yourself, that you value what you have. You're willing to protect it. And in the quiet that follows, you may notice something else. Without the constant drip, the room feels more solid, your thoughts feel clearer, and your home feels like it's truly holding onto the life you're building inside it. Finally, when you step back and look at everything we've covered, a pattern emerges. The bathroom, so often treated as nothing more than a practical space, is in fact one of the most influential rooms in your home. It's where the elements of water, air, light, and motion meet in concentrated form. It's a place of constant use, and because of that, its condition and layout quietly shape the way energy moves through the rest of your living space. Every point we've explored, the location of the bathroom, the presence or absence of light and ventilation, the clutter you allow to stay, the habit of leaving the lid or door open, the alignment with your front entrance, the balance of natural elements, even the simple matter of fixing leaks, comes down to one core truth. Small, repeated details either preserve the vitality of your home or allow it to slip away. This isn't about superstition or abstract theory. It's about how your surroundings interact with your senses, your habits, and your mind. A bathroom that is bright, well-ventilated, clean, and balanced sends subtle but steady cues of order, care, and renewal. It supports your routines instead of draining you. Conversely, a bathroom left dim, damp, cluttered, or poorly arranged creates a low-level drain on your focus and energy that accumulates over time. It's the environmental equivalent of carrying a small weight in your pocket all day. You can do it, but you never feel completely at ease. Science and common sense agree. Our environment influences our behavior and mood often more than we realize. Light affects circadian rhythms and alertness. Air quality influences energy and health. Clutter increases cognitive load and stress. Noise, yes, even the sound of a drip can elevate tension levels. When you address these in the bathroom, you're not just fixing up a room, you're removing friction from the start and end points of your daily cycle. The beauty of this is that the changes don't require tearing down walls or spending a fortune. They come from attention and intention. Closing a door, bringing in light, clearing what no longer serves you, adding a plant, repairing a leak. These are small actions, but they have a compounding effect because the bathroom is a place you visit multiple times a day. Each visit becomes a micro moment of reinforcement that your home is cared for, that its energy is contained and circulating in a way that supports you. Ultimately, the bathroom can either be a hidden source of loss or a quiet anchor of stability. The difference lies in how you shape it. When you turn it into a space that holds light, breathes easily, stays free of unnecessary weight, and aligns with the natural flow of your home, you're doing more than improving its appearance. You're setting a tone of stewardship and harmony that radiates into every other room. And in that environment, it becomes easier to think clearly, to rest deeply, and to hold onto the opportunities and comfort that come through your door. Your home is the vessel for your life. Seal its leaks, balance its heart, and tend to the places where energy gathers and flows away. Do that, and you'll feel the difference, not in a single dramatic moment, but in the steady, sustaining way your space begins to give back to you every day. That is how small choices in one room can quietly transform the life lived in all the others.